How's it going?
Good. Yeah. How are you? Sorry it's taken us so long to get here.
That's okay. It's okay. I know it's like, and it's not very easy with the time difference as well to try and
Mm,
coordinate different schedules, especially when schedules are always different.
yeah. So what time is it there?
12:15 midday.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what is it that you're up to at the moment?
Uh, what am I up to? So I'm currently the associate choreographer on Oliver in
Okay.
the West End. That's been going over for over a year now. The show started in Chichester and then transferred to the West End last November. But yeah, I'm kind of that's kind of continuing and working on that as an associate. But I'm also now I've moved into producing, and I'm my official title is the Schools and Young People's Producer
Okay.
for Matthew Bourne's New Adventures as part of their kind of take part team.
Okay.
So they're yeah, so I'm kind of doing them hand in hand at the moment.
Great. So how at what stage with Oliver are you like, did you have a new cast when you came transferred from Chichester? And are you getting a new cast soon, or how does it work with all
So
the
we
kids and stuff?
so we were part at the Chichester Festival Theatre last summer, but there was always we were always planning to come to the West End unless
Hmm.
it was like an absolute flop. Um,
Okay.
and the cast, the original cast, were basically contracted for both.
Hmm.
So yeah, we didn't have any changes really. But with the children, we currently have four Olivers rotating,
Okay.
and then we have three gangs of seven uh, kids.
Hmm.
Obviously all under 16, and I think they've changed quite a bit. I think we still have a few original, but like none of our original Olivers are with us. And we tend to have auditions kind of every 6 months due to licensing and them growing up fast, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like 20, what's that, 25 kind of tracks to fill. And then the
Hmm.
adults, we so we opened in the West End in January, um, and then they are contracted until February. So the new cast or the new members will start rehearsals in January to hopefully go for another year after that. But we're kind of it's we've just well, I believe offers and negotiations have just started to kind of see who wants to stay or who wants to change and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's always a lot going on.
Yeah. So you're constantly still doing stuff with that one, even though
Yeah,
it's
I mean, my role is
going.
so we've got a resident director and a resident choreographer who's also the children's director, and they're pretty
Okay.
much there full time. Whereas an associate, I'm kind of there to be the director's kind of eyes and ears when they're not
Hmm.
available. So I have to do the odd show watch and give my feedback. If new people go on, I need to watch them for covers sometimes, and
Hmm.
then I could get. So we've just started auditions this week for new cast members. So if I'm available, then I'll be involved with those. And then when rehearsals start, I won't need to be there all the time,
Hmm.
but maybe for like dress runs, and then as I said, when new cast members go on to try and see their first shows again to give feedback. And then if also like if we do any kind of promotional work because it's a new production, we did things like the Olivier Awards, Britain's Got Talent, and a few others, West End Live. So those kind of promotional things that are outside of the show. Again, if I'm
Hmm.
available, then I'll help kind of stage them and put them together.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
Cool.
good because
Yeah. So
it's
it's
kind of
quite
it's flexible in a
busy.
way. So yeah, it's busy, but then it works well with my producing because some weeks I won't. Some weeks I just need to kind of be at the end of a phone call or an email.
Hmm.
And then I say other weeks, like this week when we've got auditions, it gets busier.
Yeah.
But then again, like the producing, I'm kind of only contracted to do 3 days a week. Um,
Okay.
so I'm yeah, I was very lucky that they both kind of said, they think it can work, to be able to do both positions.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about the producing?
Yes. So the producing is for a company called New Adventures, which is run by Matthew Bourne, who's also the director of Oliver.
He directed Oliver,
And
or he choreographed Oliver, or
he
both?
did both. Yeah.
Ah, I didn't
So
know that. Okay.
it's the first musical he's directed and choreographed.
Great. Okay.
And we had a co-director
Hmm.
called JP Jean-Pierre, who co-directed it with Matthew, and then it was myself and a lady called Etta Murfitt, who also works with him in New Adventures, were his kind of movement associates.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
And the producing, yeah, is for his dance theatre company, who I've worked for a number of years in different capacities. And my role as schools and young people's producer is, as well as the major productions that they kind of tour all over the world, they do a lot of workshops and talent development and kind of giving access to young people into to dance and well-being. And so as schools and young producer, basically, the next show that New Adventures are doing is the Red Shoes,
Hmm.
which I actually again helped choreograph and was in the original production. But this time round, we have usually the show is in London over kind of Christmas and stuff, and then it goes on UK tour before going international.
Hmm.
And we have 7 placemaking venues, partners, theatres around the UK that we work with to basically help connect them to local schools and colleges and groups in that area using our kind of methodology and our work to help the community and show the power of dance and how it can help well-being and stuff like that. And so with those placemaking venues, when the show is there or close to when the show is there, we have dance artists that aren't in the current show but have worked with New Adventures as performers that will go to that setting and deliver workshops based on the current show.
Hmm.
And it's the schools tour. It works in primary schools, secondary schools, SEN settings, and it's basically my job to produce it and put everything together.
Okay.
The project's been running for 3 years now, and I'm
Hmm.
actually only kind of maternity cover. So
Okay.
my my contract is kind of goes through to the end of March next year. And yeah, so it's about working with the theatres, the partners, and the schools, and the artists, and the training that needs to be put in place. And yeah, doing that. So at the moment, it's very much about preparing and putting everything together because the first workshops aren't until November.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you spoke a bit about the methods that get used. Like, what exactly does that mean? What kind of methods are they? Are they like unique methods? Are they kind of like Frantic has their own methods and that kind of thing, or is it kind of like methods that they have taken and shifted? Because I know that New Adventures does so much narrative dance and movement, which is what I love, but I don't know much about their specific methods that they use.
Yeah. So without going into it, the company, which is now called New Adventures, but it used to be called Adventures in Motion Pictures when it
Hmm.
first started out, and it was started out by Matthew, and um, he was very much interested in films and theatre and live performance, and he was very much influenced by kind of cinema and the golden age of Hollywood and all that stuff. And it was always about the story and telling stories through movement and the power of
Hmm.
movement. And it's hard really because I think it's people see New Adventures. Some people see it as a contemporary company, or some people a ballet company. I think because of the shows that we've done, like Swan Lake and Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, and the big kind of classical ones that he's reinvented. But actually, we're mostly classed as like a dance theatre company,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's kind of quite hard to classify what that means. And like one of his shows, one of his kind of best known smaller scale shows is called Play Without Words, And this
Mm-hmm.
came about at the National Theatre, and they basically said, "We want you to come up with a play without words." And he said, "Well, okay." And he basically did that, and that was based on a film called The Servant from the 1960s. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I think it's just about the power of movement and gesture and physicality and expression and musicality. I think music is so important to his work and connecting the movement to that music.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, well, pretty much all the time, the music is kind of already there. It gets reorchestrated, and sometimes a composer that we use a lot called Terry Davis would write new music.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's funny because people say like, physical theatre as a thing, but I don't know, I always found it funny because actually all theatre is physical.
Yeah.
Even radio is physical. Like you can't see it, but and I think with dance theatre, it's about starting with, I think with Matthew, his way of creating shows is very collaborative. He's not a choreographer or a director that kind of creates the steps and then teaches them to you. It's very
Mm-hmm.
much about using tasks and ideas to then develop them with each individual performer um,
Yeah.
and character. And so for me, he's very much a visionary. Like where he gets his ideas from and how he sees stories and ideas. Like with Swan Lake, obviously, probably his most famous one. How he saw those characters and those swans is very unique. And then how he brought that to
Mm-hmm.
life. And I guess with the mythology, like it would always start with a story, maybe do, I guess, like a narrative, like what scenes are there and why those scenes are there, looking at the characters, looking at relationships, where we can get inspiration from them, from the era that it's set in, from the music, from the popular dancers of those time. Because obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a dance show, you need to have dancing in it. And some shows lend themselves to that much easier than others. For example, in
Mm-hmm.
when we did Edward Scissorhands, as well as trying to work out whether we could actually dance in foot-long scissors, there wasn't much in the film that lent itself to dancing. So you'll notice in pretty much every New Adventure show, there's a party,
Right.
whether it's birthday or Christmas or something, because it's a great chance. It's a chance to basically have a big number in the show where you can do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of partner work. So there's always a party number. And then once we kind of have that narrative, we know how we're going to tell the story, we know the scenes, we've got a basic understanding of the characters and how we want to develop them as actors. Um, we then basically use tasks to create
Mm-hmm.
the movement. And for me, when I was at college, I went to college quite young and I hated choreography. I didn't know where to start with it. Making up shapes and movement. I just didn't know where to start. With Matthew's work, it was always all about layering,
Mm-hmm.
starting off starting off with a scene. What's in that scene? What do we need to get out of that scene? Why is that scene there? What do we learn from the characters? How does the story develop within that scene? And then it comes from quite a natural, real place. But then by adding layers, it starts to become, I guess, a bit more abstract in its in
Yeah.
its movement. And we have different tasks for to develop um, different things. We have one called like top and tail, where the top half of your body kind of is put together by one person, and the other person does the bottom half, and then you put them together, which is a basic side of it. But it creates quite unique movement, which at first probably feels quite awkward, but then
Mm-hmm.
seems to work. And like with there's the statue and the the artist, where it's about manipulation and kind of
Mm-hmm.
partner work. And it was a really refreshing way of looking at creating movement and telling stories. And like it's also about physicality and gesture and how when you take away the words, every movement is magnified. It's like if you're listening to a piece of music or a podcast and
Mm-hmm.
you know and or and you can't see anything, or if there was a task I was told, and this is when I was doing some Meisner training, is um, two different things that with TV is to turn the sound off and
Mm-hmm.
watch their physicality and see how much they move or don't move and the use of their
Mm-hmm.
face. Or like, when you take away one of your senses, the others are heightened. So I think when you take away the words, like every gesture, every look, uh, like I said, has a meaning behind it. So it's a really hard thing, especially with theatre, because it's not on TV. So you've still got to project to sometimes 2,000 people, and it's got
Mm-hmm.
to look natural, but it's about the musicality and weirdly not treating it as dance. It's very much storytelling and style and musicality. So it's a number of things that come together, and obviously design is such a huge thing. Matthew
Yeah.
surrounds himself with people that he's worked with for quite a long time that understand how he works and how they can bring his vision to life. But it's again,
Yeah.
it's the collaborative side of it which makes it really enjoyable to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. You talked about Meisner, and I know that you've done Meisner before. What are the tools and methods and techniques that you have learnt over the years that you have found really supported that world of like crossing over between dance theatre, musical theatre, plays, and all of those sorts of things?
Yeah. I mean, they are very different worlds,
Yeah.
but I've always approached them, I guess, in my own style, in the only way I know. Like, I think I was never planning on going into like a dance company, a contemporary dance company, when I was
Mm-hmm.
training. And the first shows that I kind of did with them, well, actually, no, because I did the Carman, but I then did Play Without Words and Edward Scissorhands. And I never thought I would do his kind of big classical shows. And then when he asked me to do The Prince in Swan Lake, I was quite surprised because I was never the most technical dancer. But then I thought, well, I can't pretend to be like the person that's done it before or anything like that. I can only approach it in the way that I do. I had to trust that Matthew obviously knew I or thought I could do it. And I don't know. I guess I'm a performer that's always been intrigued by different things and wanting to be able to do everything and continue to learn. So
Mm-hmm.
I still feel really, even like looking back, thinking that, I've been a principal dancer with Matthew Bourne just makes me laugh in a way. Um, Having remembered when I first saw one of his shows, it was Carman at the Old Vic, and I was just like, "There's just no way I can get in this. It's just, well, it's not what I do." But then
Mm-hmm.
I guess I like a challenge, and then I think it's just the variation for me of, like you said, going from a dance company to straight plays to musical theatre to TV and film to opera,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a jack of all trades. And I think I've just always approached it. I don't know really. It's like I guess growing up, I did dance and drama and singing, but I guess dance has kind of always been at the forefront of what I do. But then saying that with Matthew's stuff, my approach is probably to start with the acting and the character and the storytelling, and then letting that influence how I physicalize and dance the steps that have been already choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with Meisner, it's so funny because I speak to so many people that they look back at their training and they wish they had done somewhere like trained somewhere else or done something else. But I think as you get older and you experience more, your passion and your it changes. And I don't. I
Mm-hmm.
I went to a musical theatre go performing arts college, and I don't regret it. And I don't. I went quite young, which again, I don't. You can't really regret things like that. But then
How old were
it
you when
was.
you went?
So I went when I was 16,
Oh yeah, same
which
as
at the
me.
time didn't feel young, but now feels quite young. But I'd started when I was 9, and I was very lucky. Like I started when I was 9. I going back to Oliver. My first professional job was Oliver at the Palladium that Matthew choreographed.
Yeah. That Matthew
So I've worked with
choreographed.
yeah. So I've worked with Matthew for
Wow.
over 30 years. Um,
Wow.
and then I worked with a company called the National Youth Music Theatre, YMT, for like 2 or 3 years, which uh, really helped with my stagecraft and uh, life in the theatre and what you needed to do to make it work. So I learned a lot, not just about how to be on stage, but off stage. And I went to college when I was 16, and the college was great. And we did everything, but it was probably more dance based
Hmm.
um, rather than acting or musical theatre. And we did drama, but we didn't really delve into it much. And I joined Matthew's company when I was 19, so when I graduated. But long story short, that tour got cut short because of September the 11th in 2001. So
Okay.
we got flown home, and then I went into the West End to do the original cast of We Will Rock You back in 2002.
I don't know that either I didn't know or I forgot that because I definitely would
Yeah,
have seen you in that.
no, it was it's fine. But basically, that made me realise actually I wanted to do more work with New Adventures and with Matthew, and I was lucky to be able to go back into it. Um, yeah, I've gone off on a tangent, but the Meisner, I realised I hadn't had much experience. Acting for me, it was so funny because coming from very much a dance background and having different
Hmm.
techniques and doing class and working on that technique, and the more you work on it, the more you practice those exercises, the better you get.
Hmm.
And acting was so vague to me. I'd never been taught like a technique or a style, and I felt like I was blagging it a bit. And I was starting to get these bigger roles, and I thought like I want experience, and I need a bit of guidance. And I was doing, the shows with the parts that I was doing with Matthew's shows are quite heavy,
Hmm.
um, and I was kind of taking a lot of it home, and I just wasn't enjoying it very much.
Yeah.
Um, and especially being on tour, it can, you can become, you get into a bubble, and everything just it gets heightened. And anyway, so I was looking into workshops of different styles and techniques, and I'd heard a little bit about Meisner, so I thought then this workshop, kind of 2 week thing, came up at the Actors Centre in London, and it was incredible because it just made acting make sense a little bit.
Okay.
And on the first day, when we started to do like repetition, which is one of the exercises, I was like, "What are we going to do for 2 weeks? This is like crazy." And then like by the end of the first week, I was like, "Wow, there's so much to learn." And for me, the two things were firstly with Meisner, there is like a set of exercises, and the
Hmm.
more you do those exercises, the better you get. And it's like with anything, the more you practice. I mean, like practice is amazing. The more you practice, you are going to get better. There's no way around it.
Hmm.
So there was that way of seeing it, but then it was also the idea of being in the moment and getting out of your head and
Hmm.
putting your focus on the other person, on the other act or the other person in the room. And I think as dancers, any performers, but especially dancers, I think you get so in your head about stuff. Like if you fall off your pirouette or something goes wrong, it's really hard to kind of let it go. Um, and just having that freedom to just react and
Hmm.
put your focus on someone else rather than yourself was just incredible. And even though it was I literally did 2 weeks, I went back and I was doing Cinderella at the time, and just the little things that I learned within those 2 weeks, I was able to not criticize myself too much and kind of like disengage from the character. So when I when I came off stage, I would like kind of self-note after the show and go, okay, why did that didn't feel great, or why didn't that really work, or stuff like that. But actually, when I was in the moment,
Yeah.
it was like liberating. Um, and I felt much better. I felt less tense or stressed, and I was able to kind of enjoy performing again. And then, so then I got offered the guy that led the workshop. It's a guy called Scott Williams, and I think he still runs a company called the Impulse Company, which is a Meisner based company. And
Okay.
I got invited to do their year long course, which again, I didn't do partly because I was already kind of working and couldn't commit to it. And then at the time
Hmm.
I thought it's a year, it's too long, it's too much for commitment. Looking back now, I probably would have learned from it and really enjoyed it. But it was just that was my decision at the time. But there was a woman who was in my workshop at the time, and she was learning to become a Meisner teacher,
Hmm.
and she basically was setting up her own company, and she invited me along to some of it, to the beginning of her developing this company, and we did some shows with her. So I was able to kind of continue my learning and my developing with working with them.
Okay.
So in some ways with Meisner, I felt like and I still feel like I've only literally just scratched the surface,
Yeah.
but it kind of it lit a flame that made me want to study it a bit more in my own time and then put it into practice. And even with, with dancing, constriction is the wrong way because you've got to do the steps and you've got to do it to the
Hmm.
right counts and the right music and you've got to be standing in the right place. But you've still got freedom within that to be truthful and be in the moment. Like
Hmm.
I was lucky to be playing opposite some dancers that were kind of in the same boat, like classically trained or contemporary based training, but actors as well. Yeah, and then I've kind of I guess the whether it's looking at breaking down the scene in a script, which we looked at as well,
Hmm.
but just that idea of being in the moment, and I think it kind of just helps in life in a way. When I was working in Asia a lot, I looked into Buddhism, and I don't follow Buddhism. I'm not religious in any way, but again, it was that, being present, being in the moment, being truthful. I was like, my God, there's so many parallels here, and just enjoying everything around you at the time. And I think in this career, when you're always looking towards the next job, just to be able to have a moment of going, actually, right now, today, things are going well, and it's so easy to forget that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really helps, and I would really recommend it. Again, I've not experienced any other kind of techniques, so I wouldn't know, but for me, I felt like it did enhance my work.
Yeah, I've come across a bit of Meisner and I'm reading a second book actually about it. And I often, because it's not something I've specifically trained in, I don't sort of like teach, obviously, it as Meisner because but I say this is inspired by, and it inspires ideas for movement exercises or like more physically focused
Mm,
exercises that I kind of take. And that is something that I really like about it. That I think, as you say, it's so important to be present in the moment and also be responding to the other person, be responding to the world you're in as the character, and also just generally the world you're in, rather than just in your head, which I do think that there are other methods that make you go away and sit down and like it's all in your head and then you're like acting on everything else rather than you responding to everything else, and it feels like
yeah,
Meisner is
and
that
I think like you say,
responsive.
like listening and observing. That Scott Williams, he had so many like sayings. One of them was, one of the first ones was a rising tide lifts all ships. So basically, surround yourself by people that are better than you, and it will, better you. But then there's another one about like, imagine the words or the text is like a boat on the water. Yeah, but
Hmm.
the water is your actions, and it's what happens is your actions and your choices affects the text. It's not the other way around.
Right.
And I think again, I think with dance theatre and with working with Matthew and what I do, I think when you take away the words, it makes the audience really concentrate and focus on what they're watching because when the text is there, it kind of gives you a lot of information. But when it's just physicality, it leaves a lot of the storytelling up to the audience. And
Hmm.
you have a lot of people that, I mean, my mum when she used to come and see me and stuff would be like, yeah, I didn't really understand it, but I enjoyed it. And then other people would take different things from it because we weren't giving you absolutely everything. You had to
Hmm.
use your
Hmm.
imagination, um,
Yeah.
and connect with different characters and stuff like that. So yeah, and I think with the Meisner, I remember like suddenly, I guess getting out of your head and observing. Again, observe. It's all about observing. It's like really seeing or really listening to something.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of like coming out of the studio after one of the days in the workshops, and like I could hear so many other things, and I could really see people and pick up on their mannerisms and what they were saying. Or I would watch a couple on the platform opposite me and see they're having this kind of argument and like the physicality behind it because I was really watching them and not caught up
Hmm.
in my head or my preconception of what I think it is.
Yeah, and without judgment as well, right? Just like being aware, being ready to observe and just present without judgment
Yeah.
and take
And
things
there's also
in.
something about like with Meisner, but I guess everything is, and with Matthew's work, is doing your homework, doing your preparation,
Hmm.
whether it's about the character. So you know that character inside out, and like you learn the work, like that's one of the things is about breaking down the scene where basically we used some short scenes, and he would say how basically like a script is completely unfinished. There's so much more to add there with regards to your objectives and targets and the real meaning behind the words and all this stuff. So you would do all that homework, break it down, break everything down, stuff like that, and then just forget it.
Hmm.
Just don't and forget it. So that when you're on stage, you've got all the tools there and the knowledge and that freedom to know you will react truthfully
Yeah,
within that moment.
yeah.
So for me, yeah, it was always about that preparation. Um,
So when you say that, it's like you break it down, you come up with all of the actions and targets and all that kind of stuff, but then in the moment, that can completely change, and you just know that you have that. Like, is that what you mean?
yeah, and I think there's another
Yeah,
thing. That there's a book called The Actor and the Target.
yeah. I use a lot of that, and I've lent it to
Yeah,
lots of my
and
students.
and again for me, that just gave me a clear, like with objectives within each scene, and
Hmm.
like the overall objectives, just gave me a clear direction of what my character wanted,
Hmm.
what obstacles there are in the way, and what their objective is, and what happens, and how do they get their objective, and do they get their objective?
Hmm.
Breaking it down in that way, and actually knowing that that objective might change. It was just so like eye-opening for me. Yeah, I guess it's knowing that, and then doing your kind of research so that yeah, you're ready to react within that person, but then also be able to like come off stage and drop it and not be like, I love the idea. If I wish I could have gone back and kind of experienced, method acting a little bit, but I think it would have just been so stressful,
Yeah, sounds very stressful.
uh, and time consuming. And I think now having a family and stuff like that, it's much easier for me to just leave work at work. Like
Yeah.
before, when I was younger, bringing it home and being all consuming, whereas now it's like, yeah,
Yeah. I want to ask about with the different, either with like Oliver or New Adventures, or even like working on like Wuthering Heights, any projects that you're doing, where are you noticing people are coming from in terms of training? Because I've got lots of people here who are doing lots of like movement led work, devised work with me. They do musical theatre. Some of them do more straight theatre, but they're all really into physically inspired and devised work. And some of them are keen to train in the UK and are asking me. And I'm like, I didn't really train in that. It's more like I was like you, I went to more of a dance based college and then learnt through the world.
mm.
um, so I'm just wondering what you're noticing or what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, right now, with regards to training, um, like higher level training, like full-time training, I couldn't. I feel like with colleges and conservatoires and stuff like that, it's constantly changing.
Right,
Um,
okay.
I don't think there's like any kind of like forerunners or people that are, for a few years it would be art ed, and the next minute it would be a different kind of. But um,
Mm-hmm.
it's like when I was going back to saying, I see so many kind of dancers or musical theatre people that maybe go into a bit more acting. They kind of go, "Oh, I wish I'd gone to like a drama school." But I think, well, yeah, but back then I don't think you probably would have done. I don't think you would have enjoyed it because at that time your passion, your was
Mm-hmm.
dance. It might be different now. Like I still want to perform, but when I was doing the Red Shoes back in 2017 or something like that, because with New Adventures we do class every day, so we do a ballet or a contemporary class every day, and I just wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't really getting anything out of it anymore. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
these youngsters doing all these tricks and like I could just they were like absolutely loving class, and I was like, yeah, it's too hard work and it's not really for me. I was enjoying the shows because again it's very much about the character and stuff like that and telling a story. But I think God, yeah, it's really hard to say that there is like one or two places that are the best places to go, and especially that with physical stuff. I guess the best for me. like I've realized it's not about kind of what shows I want to be in. It's more
Hmm.
about the people that I want to work with
Yeah.
and learn from. And I think you have to try everything because you don't know. Like yes, you might experience something that you thought you would never be interested in, and it might just spark something. So I would say, if there's workshops or like taster things, like with new adventures, they do a lot of workshops and talent development. It's not just in schools, but we have a thing called Signet School, which is for younger students really, and then Swan School, which is more of like an intense 2 or 3 week project.
Hmm.
They do a professional class where you can come and join in class. That we now do tech tasters and we do careers talks. For us on our website, I'm just using New Adventures because it's what I know, but we have different
Hmm.
opportunities for like talent development and workshops. And like I say, so we now do tech tasters. So for people that are interested in the technical side of theatre,
Okay.
careers talk, yeah, and careers talks where we deliver talks, all the different opportunities to work in the arts, not just performing on stage, but producing creative, costume design, all those kind of things, and all the different pathways that you can go in if it wasn't actually being on stage, but you still wanted to be involved in theatre and the art. So I
Hmm.
guess if there's other companies that you aspire to be in after your training, maybe it might be, I don't know, see whether people in that company trained or if those company have any workshops just to kind of experience um, how they work. But I'm not really, yeah, I don't really have much information with regards to kind of full-time training here. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
again, I'm sure it's very different as well in Europe, depending on what kind of stuff you want to do.
yeah.
Yeah, and I guess again with New Adventures, they the type of performance is kind of dependent on the show, but they get people that are classically trained or like contemporary training or musical theatre, like performing arts.
Right.
So it's quite
Okay.
diverse with the kind of people that they look at. Uh, they have they have auditions every,
Hmm.
and yeah, they tend to now have kind of sometimes more than one show going on at once. But it's not like it's not like a typical dance company where I guess something like Rambert where you're contracted for a year and then you perform the rep within that year.
Hmm.
With New Adventures, it's more like a typical show where you're contracted just for that show.
Yeah.
There's a number of factors with that. Like firstly, like they're doing Swan Lake at the moment, where there's like 44 dancers, um, and the next show it's not, but the next show could be Play Without Words, where there's 12 dancers.
Hmm.
So you can't accommodate everyone. Or you might not be right. Like you might be right for Swan Lake, you might not be right for the Red Shoes, or you might be right for the Red Shoes, but
Yeah.
you might not be right for Edward Scissorhands. So it's hard in that way. Sometimes there's auditions within the company as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I think a lot of people in the company over the last few years have come through our talent development, like Swan
Okay.
School, yeah, Swan School, Signet School, or they've come along to one of our pro classes and signed up, and we've seen them that way. Um,
Okay.
so I think with companies like that, it's just about making yourself seen and showing that you're interested in doing that stuff. Like another company that I work for is Wise Children with Emma Rice, um, and kind of quite different with the New Adventure. It's not a dance company; it's a theatre company that tells stories with a script, but through movement and puppetry and singing and music as well. And again, they hold summer schools. They do talent development stuff.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know they do summer schools.
yeah, yeah, they do.
Right.
They
Great.
do. I don't know what they call it. They do.
Send people there.
They've just done one
Okay.
where it's like a week or 2 weeks kind of residency, and they invite people to come along and basically experience what it's like to devise stories through the kind of Wise Children method. And they have
Hmm.
obviously Emma there and Laura Keith, who's associate director, and Ian Ross, who's one of the composers, and they'll have someone do a movement. Um, and that tends to be for professionals, but we have done it in the past in different areas of the country, um, where I've led workshops for them in school settings or different areas, which is really fun to come and experience and basically have a play. And
Yeah.
um, again, it's very collaborative. It's such a wonderful way to work. Um, so I think it's that experience as much as you can, and if the opportunities arise, just grab them, and because you never know what
Yeah.
might spark a passion or an interest. Um, but yeah, like with training, things are changing all the time, and I think whatever you choose, it'll be right for that moment in your
Yeah.
because that's what's great. It's you don't just do your 3 years of training and then that's it. Like
Hmm.
you have to want to continue to learn and evolve as a performer. It doesn't
Yeah.
just stop. I mean, obviously there's money and opportunities and things like that, which can be a factor. But yeah, just go experience everything. Like Shakespeare for me, I've never done Shakespeare. I don't think I could ever do Shakespeare, and I'd love to understand it a bit. But I go and see it, and I go and you know try
You can do it.
step out of your I'd say step out of your comfort zones.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you, now you've talked about Emma Rice and Wise Children, I've always wanted to work with her and I have never had that opportunity. What was the process like creating Wuthering Heights?
Wuthering Heights. Um, yeah, well, I mean,
Or in general, you've done more of
yeah,
her projects as well, haven't you? So, like, what can
yeah.
you say about her process?
So yeah, so Emma was someone that um, I'd wanted to work with for similar for a while, and I hadn't seen a lot of their stuff when she was with Knee High.
Hmm.
But my kind of way in was through Etta Murfitt, who is the associate director of New Adventures, and it was also works on Oliver and I've assisted her, but she's choreographed a lot of Emma's shows, and she was kind of basically put my name forward.
Hmm.
Um, and I just wasn't being seen. And then I got asked to come in for when she first started her new company called Wise Children, and it was for the show Wise Children.
Hmm.
And basically, I was asked to come in and just do a turn, basically just like show my skill. And they gave me a bit of script, and I picked up on some of the in the script. There was some songs that I kind of learned. And I was doing a play at the time called An Ideal Husband, Oscar Wilde play in the West End. And I told people that I had this casting, and they were like, "Well, what are you going to do? Like, that's really scary that you just do a turn." But actually, it was the opposite because I thought, well, all I can do is what I do, you know. And yes,
Hmm.
there was a bit of script anyway. So I went in there and I did a bit of magic. I did a bit of tap dancing. I played the ukulele and the piano. Obviously, did a bit of singing and dancing, and then I did some origami stuff. Um, anyway, and then got the um,
As an audition? Okay.
yeah.
I've
Apparently,
never really heard someone being asked to just did you say do a turn?
yeah, just do a turn, do something.
I don't know what that means. As
So
in, like,
basically,
do a pirouette,
well, someone no, like
do a
do
trick.
like do an act, do a show, do whatever you want. Like one guy
Oh.
who got Wuthering Heights basically made Emma some food, like cooked or something. Like someone else did like Hamlet,
And
but in
brought it.
yeah, brought it in and made it, and like someone else someone else did like Macbeth, but in the style of I don't know, some off the wall crazy. It's basically just do it.
Oh,
Do
I love
what
it.
what would Sid do if you were asked to come in a room and just do have this bit of a scene and stuff. So it was yeah. I was just being silly and yeah. So that was kind of my introduction. And then when we first did the show, when we first started rehearsals, we didn't pick up the script until like the fifth day.
Okay.
I was getting a little bit panicked. When are we actually going to look at the words?
How long
But
rehearsal did you have?
4 weeks.
Okay.
But Emma, we doesn't do like a read. No, so a lot of shows you kind of on the first day you sit around and like do a read through. Where
Hmm.
she was like, that doesn't, as soon as you're in the room with everyone, that you want to be learning from each other. You don't want to be sat down like you've all had the script, you've all read it, or you should have read it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do a read through, people put on some sort of performance, so they're kind of again at what they perceive is the right. Whereas if actually you don't need to do that, you've read the script. There's nothing can come of it because it's again the
Mm-hmm.
script is completely it's not finished because you haven't devised anything, you haven't done anything. But they would have always we did like again like a bit of research and development and workshops to uh, discover what the language is. And I think similar
Yeah.
to Matthew Bourne, it would start with an idea, whether that was, I guess in Matthew's, if it was like a classical piece, or if it was a book, if it was a film, if it was a painting, if it was a quote as a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about the narrative, then it's about the design, the music. And obviously, Wise Children was quite a well known book. So before we started rehearsals, there was workshops kind of play with the language and the style of the piece, both
Mm-hmm.
musically and movement wise. So the first few days, it would always be about learning some of the movement and some of the songs from the show. I think a part of that, so it feels like you've accomplished as a company,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
also so that you can understand a little bit more about the style of the piece. And
Yeah.
then we would do a lot of work. We would have like big pieces of paper and pens, and you would look. One would be the themes of the show.
Okay.
One would be the characters. One would be the play.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, and you would all collectively write down what you think the themes of the show are, the characters, and I think with uh, Wuthering Heights, we had to write down what each character would be the god.
Okay.
So like the god of revenge or the god of dandy or the god of whatever. Um, and then you would write down for each character collectively what that character is like. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there'd be a lot of creativeness. And again, like, Etta was like, 10 brains is better than one. Like Emma doesn't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she always says is make me an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I was always asking, I always kind of needed a bit of direction of going, should I try this? She was like, make me an offer. I was like, with my character, she was like, just do it, just do something. I was like, okay. Um, so that was on Wise Children. So when we came to do Wuthering Heights, it was a unique start because my son was due to be born the day before we started rehearsals.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and then he was born 5 days into rehearsals. So on the first day, we had done some introductions, and I think we'd learned a few steps and a bit of music. And she basically said, like, obviously, as we might lose Sam at any point, I want to try and use you. And basically, obviously, you've seen it, but the opening of the show is being caught in the wind, and then going into Wuthering Heights. And I was like, okay, I wasn't really, I kind of was off book, but I wasn't really. And basically, we had like the doors and stuff. And she was like, right, go. And I was like, well, she was like, well, but yeah, it's windy and you need to get to that door. The door's over there. You're coming on from here. How do you get there and then deliver the text? And the text changed quite a bit because obviously in the show, in the book, Locke would narrate much of the beginning, and that was originally I would speak. I was talking to the audience quite a lot more, and then we kind of cut that um,
Mm-hmm.
down. And I was like, well, okay. So then everyone was just stood there waiting for me to do something. So then I went and got a jacket, and my jacket at the time was like a barber jacket, a wax jacket, and I had a hat. So I thought, well, I'll put the hat on because that gives me something to play with. And then I
Yeah.
had the script in one. I didn't have my script, so I had the associate director's script. And then I just came in and I said, well, can everyone create some wind noise? Otherwise, you know what I mean? It just then I came in and then I was like rolling around, literally like that. Then I was rolling around and then I was like shouting at them more. And then I was basically she was getting me to play and be.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of clowning side of me that yeah, I think I just being silly and liking to make people laugh and be and so then that developed, and then I managed to kind of get in the door. She was like, right, okay, you're in Wuthering Heights, and then it was, um, and then my son was born on the Friday. No, my wife Steph went into labour on the Friday. 52 hours later, he was born. Um, I had the Saturday, Sunday off. Then I was back in on Monday. Yeah, and so it was a bit of it was a bit of a crazy like introduction to the show, but it was for me. It was such a great role in the way that there was a lot of physical,
Mm-hmm.
but then and again, I guess with Lockwood, but also with Edgar at the beginning, and then obviously the tragedy it got quite obviously very dark at the end, and it was nice to be able to play that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with every show that she does and every show that I've done, she will use your strengths. She casts personalities rather than talent.
Right.
Like in Wise Children, there was kind of men playing female identifying roles, not to be inclusive or diverse in a way, just because the man that she got was this personality of the character. So it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a choice because she was trying to be different or anything like that. It was just his personality made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, you've got to look at certain, and I think like with Edgar, they know one of my strengths is dance or physicality. So like with Edgar Linton at the beginning, Etta and I. So I originally helped create some of the movement for it and the
Mm-hmm.
language for it. So we looked for the Lintons. We looked at kind of period, kind of Baroque style dancing, um,
Mm-hmm.
and then developed that, and it just got bigger and bigger. And like there's for example with Emma, there was one show in a tech, and there's a bit in the show where it's Christmas, and Edgar and Isabella dance come in. While
I remember
servers
it.
watch their vlogs by night there, and we'd put together this dance, and in one of the techs, in the kind of little dance break bit, I did some like break dancing, just to be silly. And she was like, "You've got to put it in the show." And I was like, "But it's like 1845. I can't be doing breakdancing." She was like, "It's just do it." And it's my own fault because I did like this kind of big side lift, like one arm press, and then like this thing. And I put it in, and it got a really big response. And I was like, and she was like, "Well, now you have to do it every show." And I was like, it's my own fault for like throwing myself around. And then like at the end of the show, when I came back as Lockwood, in rehearsals, I did like a round off backflip thing with a roll to the floor, and she was like, "Yeah, great, put it in." And I was like, "But she was she's great in a way that she'll say like, make me an offer, but then she'll also tell you if it's the wrong offer.
Yeah.
I'll do something. She'll be like, "Yeah, that didn't really work." I was like, "Okay, try something else." Um,
Mm-hmm.
Again, very liberating way of working,
Yeah.
especially. And again, it's a company that it makes all the performers look like they can do everything when we really can't. Like they were like, wow, like you can all dance and you can all sing and you can all play instruments, and we're like, not really. We just literally do a bit of
As a
everything.
collective, we do.
Yeah. I mean, some of them can do everything, annoyingly, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I think when the shows come back, if it's a different cast, it'll be a very different show because you bring your own personality to it and your own skills. And actually, with
Yeah.
Wuthering Heights, I was the only kind of company member that played the same role all the way.
Right.
So there was a couple of people that started and then they didn't do certain parts of the international tour and then they came back. There was others that changed roles. So I think out of about 280 shows or something, I missed four or five.
Oh
But
wow.
the show stayed fresh because of the new people coming in and finding new things, and actually made my performance different,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was really interesting. Um, yeah, so yeah, I feel very very lucky to have. kind of found myself within that company. Um, and I've realised a lot. Well, I've realised them as I get older now. Like it's the creative bit which is kind of more enjoyable and exciting than the actual performing. I think now
Yeah.
more than ever nowadays, like having to do 8 shows a week on tour is it's a really hard thing to do, like mentally, physically.
Hmm.
Whereas actually being in the room, being able to play and create and devise and be silly, that's what I really and I think that's why now doing what I'm doing. I mean, it's to do with family and stuff as well. But you know, the thought of going on tour and doing 8 shows a week isn't as appealing as it used
Yeah.
to. So, and it's hard, you know, being freelance, it's really tough. But actually, sometimes Steph, my wife, she's just done 2 weeks working on a possible new project about Sinbad.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, like just being in that room and devising and creating.
Is that with Angeli?
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
trying to get Angeli on to talk, but we haven't managed to arrange it yet. Yeah, I saw her on Instagram doing that. She's doing great,
See,
isn't she?
I mean, she can't say, she doesn't say no to anything. I mean, she's doing so well, and she's getting all these offers, which is um
Hmm.
but I mean, how she, you know, she's got 3 kids now, um under 4. Like it's crazy. But yeah, she's doing.
So Steph's
um
been doing the workshop for, was it a workshop, did you say?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
it was so they had already done some workshops, I think, whereas this was more about developing those ideas and
Okay.
putting it in front of possible investors
Hmm.
to see if it has a future. But Steph assisted Angie on it,
Mm.
and I think from experience, assisting Angie means you are very involved with the creation and development side.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully it has a life. Um, but yeah, I feel like again, like looking back when I was training, I said I still don't call myself a choreographer. I don't think I've got the skills or the knowledge to kind of create my own stuff. But devising and working with people that have those ideas
Yeah.
and bringing them to life, especially through physicality and stuff like that. I know, especially the way that my career has gone, and like with dance theatre and telling stories through movement. I guess is yeah, just that's just kind of how my strength. That's where my strength is, just through experience.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I had the same thing. I wouldn't have known that I would have ended up where I am, and along the way I'd make these 5 year plans, and choreography was always a side thing, teaching was always a side thing, directing wasn't even in there, and now it's like directing is my main thing with movement as like my primary language. So it's
Mm.
sort of, yeah, the developing and creating in the room and the playfulness of all of that is something I never knew about until we started working with people who did it, and I saw
Mm.
people who did it. And
But I think that's
yeah,
what's really
even
nice. I think the not knowing and not knowing where you know your career and stuff is going to go. Yes, it can be scary, but it's also you don't know where it's going to take you. And like for me, I never thought I'd teach, say,
mhm,
and before I was producing over the last 10 years, I've done a lot of like delivering of workshops. Um, and even now with producing and still being involved with workshops and working with young people, how rewarding.
mhm,
I was never going to teach. It was never on my radar. But now being able to give back and see how important dance is in people's well-being, and
mhm.
not just, you know, mentally as and emotionally as well as physically. And I think with teaching the workshops and producing, especially within schools and with younger people, I find it so much more rewarding than when I was on stage getting applause, you know, and even with Oliver, you know, as an associate, these young gang members perform, you know, especially when you've been involved with the auditions and casting them. There was
Mhm.
a couple of kids, and actually Steph helped out some open auditions for the gang, and so some of them never been on stage before in their lives, and
Wow.
they're incredible. And, and seeing them up there. And I remember for the opening night of Oliver in the West End, um, being more nervous than I've ever been being on stage. Because I think when you're on stage, you have got some sort of control over what happens. Not a lot,
Yeah.
but you do have a bit of control. Whereas being a creative and being on this side of, you've done all you can do. And it was just like, what if they do this, or what if they forget that, or what if this happens, or what if the revolve doesn't go, or what if the bridge doesn't come in? And our co-director JP, he's worked with Cameron Mackintosh a lot, and he never watches.
Really?
No, he goes for dinner. So at press night, I was sat next to his wife and two kids, but he wasn't there. He just went for a meal on his own, and
You didn't
came
didn't
back.
want to see there
Yeah,
too
I mean, it's
nervous. Yeah,
so
I know the
stressful,
feeling.
but then so rewarding, which I never thought
Yeah.
I would want to do. And I get
Mm-hmm.
like with my producing, I don't know. I mean, it's such early days, and I don't know where it's going to take me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when I had my interviews for stuff, they were like, do you want to produce your own work? And I was like, no. I said, I don't. It's not like I've got these big ideas that I want to produce. And there's so many different areas of producing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think I would like to be involved with creating new work. And for me, the face-to-face working with partners and delivering is much more enjoyable than the budgets and the contracts and all that stuff. I still enjoy it because I feel like I'm playing the role. I don't feel like I'm an actual producer. I just feel like I'm,
Putting on your producer job role.
yeah, putting a shirt on, going into London, pretending to be a producer. But I don't think any job's going to feel like a job when you do what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to catch up. I need to see you
Yeah.
when I come back to the UK.
Yes, definitely.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you. That's
I'm glad
all.
that we could make it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's really nice to hear a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and a lot of stuff that a few things that I do know that's just really useful to share with my students and anyone else who listens. So yeah, cool. Well, give my love to Steph.
I will do.
Good luck with all your various different things, and yeah, keep me updated, and hopefully I'll see you soon, or come and visit me. It's really nice here.
Yes, I know. I've heard. I do have people that come there a lot with TV stuff because there's loads that gets filmed there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's quite a lot filming here.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll keep in touch, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
Great. Thanks, Sid.
Okay. Bye.